Hey, how's it going today? Today we're going to talk about how to invest your first $1,000, what to do with it. My opinion is what the financial world will tell you to do with it, which I think they'll it's kind of complicated. Anyway, I'm going to teach you first what they would say recommend it, which I think is stupid, and I can tell you why as I'm explaining it. What they could tell you to do is just put it in a low cost index fund and the S&P 500 and just let it sit there and compound for 40 years and pray to God you live that long and nothing really happens and you have all you would have X amount of dollars. And I did that, and well, I personally didn't do that, but I did the math on it. Obviously, I'm not 60 years old. If you had done that over the last 40 years, you put just $1,000 in the S&P, you would gain probably around between, it depends, it'd be around 24,000. So essentially it went up 24 times in 40 years. So essentially it might seem a lot, but that's 40 years. So essentially if you start when you were 20, you'd be almost 60 years old with just $24,000. So essentially that doesn't seem very good at all, actually. It seems pretty horrible. I mean, you're not going to retire off that. So essentially you need more. But if you would buy Amazon, you know, X amount of years, you put $1,000, you're sitting on, and that would be over just 30 years. You'd be about 50 or so. In Amazon, you would be around 200. You'd be sitting around 200, about 200,000. So essentially, I'd take the 200,000 versus the 24,000, which you can't do anything with that. So essentially, that's where you look at. Then I went all the way back for if you would have done it for over until the S&P came out. It came out in like the early 50, I think 50, I think late 40s, 49. So essentially 49, 50. So essentially, if you were bought then, I mean, 70 years would be over 100 and I think 170,000. So essentially, still underperformed Amazon, which Amazon done well, but not the best. Actually, there's actually companies out there that did a lot better than Amazon, like Monster and some other companies. I'm not gonna get into that. Um, but anyway, I mean, and Coca-Cola and stuff like that. So essentially, if you would, and that's so essentially, if you would have done that way, essentially, first you'd be 90 years old. So essentially, and you would only have about $174,000. I think that's how much it was on the map. So essentially, that's not very good, in my opinion. So essentially, that's why I don't really do the S&P. I think the S&P, it's okay if you live in a white picket fence where everything works out perfectly, you get a good job, and you can slowly put money in there every month, and everything goes fantastic. Your car never breaks down. The market never crashes. This never happens. That never happens. So essentially, I mean, could you imagine waiting all them years? Because let's say you waited 20 some odd years, and let's say your retirement was in 2008, you would lose legitimately half your money unless you would took it out. Which, see, that's what the financial, they will tell you to take it out. So essentially, you would got clobbered if you would just stuck it in there and left it in there. And let's say you're retiring and you can't, so that's why I don't really recommend really doing it that way. So essentially, that's why I don't do it. That's why I created this channel. This is really for, I like to do it for, I look for future growth companies that have big potentials that can make quite a bit of money with a little bit of money. So essentially, when I had $1,000, I was looking to maybe go up at least 10 times or 5 times. There are stocks that can go up massive amounts of money. So essentially, that's what I was looking for. So essentially, I'm looking for smaller companies, but smaller, great opportunity companies. So essentially, I could leave a link, all the companies I recommended that has great opportunities. They don't have to be like explosive growth. They don't have to be so massive, but a 20% growth rate or 25% growth rate over 10 years is quite a bit. So essentially, that's going up 6, 8 times. So essentially, almost 10 times almost. So essentially, it's taken that original $1,000 making it 10 times. So essentially, that's why I believe you should be trying to look for the big Amazon and swinging for the fences, because honestly, I mean, you really got nothing to really lose. So essentially, like I said, even if you just put that $1,000 in the S&P and waited 40 years, you would only have $24,000. What are you going to do with $24,000? and let me tell you something, inflation. So essentially, you're really only gaining about 4% on average on the S&P. Really, your total gain. But they could tell you it's 10%. But really, you have to subtract that with inflation and cost of everything going up. Because like I said, in the 1950s, you could almost buy a new freaking car for as much as $1,000. It'd be almost having well over. I mean, it'd be quite a bit. It'd be over almost $20,000. So essentially, I mean, it's a big difference. So essentially, that's what I believe you should be doing with it. That's what I recommend. That's what I do. That's why I turned over around $1,000 I originally had. I made some other money some other ways, jobs and online and stuff, which I think online is the best way to make money. A job is for people that don't know how to make money online. That's my opinion. I'm not big into jobs. That's why I don't listen to Dave Ramsey and the Stuzy, whatever her name is. She's an idiot too. That's why I don't listen to any of them. I think they're the white picket fence, get a job, and pray to God nothing happens. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. You're not going to turn $1,000 into well over $100,000. So essentially, you're not going to do that with listening to them, putting it in some mutual fund or some growth index. And I mean, that's kind of stupid, you know what I mean? That just slightly gets better than the S&P, and pray to God that nothing, hell, your car breaks down or any, they live in a fancy world where nothing happens. So essentially, and that's just stupid. And that's why I just don't agree with that. And they could tell you to buy a house and do all the dumb things and get a good job and pray you can get a good job and kiss ass and move up. But anyway, that's why I don't like that. That's why I sit back and try to look for the new big winners. Basically, that's why I like companies like the Trade Desk. I mean, that thing's went up over 7 times in the last, I think, over 2 years. So essentially, that's a hell of a win. I mean, then I picked Shopify way in 2016, and that thing's over about 11 times. Nvidia is I picked in 2015. I wish I was making YouTube videos, but actually, I really never thought that they would shoot up that much. I mean, I don't think anybody really thought this bull market would keep going on the way it did. Honestly, back then when I first started, the S&P was actually at an all-time high, and we're going double dip recession and everything like that, but really we didn't, and it just kept going. It seems like everybody puts it down, but it keeps going. So essentially anyway, that's what this channel is. So hopefully this video helped. Maybe not teach. It's basically it's all about mindset, what to do with money. I don't believe in penny stocks. I believe in just trying to find a good growth stock that you can kind of put it in. So essentially, if you bought Nvidia, when it was right around when I was recommending it or so on my blogs and everything like that. So essentially, it went up about almost 15 times. And I told you, I sold out a little bit of it. I still actually own a little bit of it and wrote it all the way down, but it's still up massively. So once I bought it, so essentially, the stock would almost have to come down almost 99% of it. It would almost have to go bankruptcy to really lose it all, really, to go back to the original principle that I put in there. So essentially, that's what I look at. I look at big growth stocks like Netflix. I actually passed up Netflix, but it was kind of probably my worst mistake is passing up Netflix. You're doing pretty good when your worst mistake is the ones you didn't buy. But anyway, hopefully this video helps. I could leave a link of all the ones I like. Companies, and I'm making another video, and I always talk about the big growth companies, and really that's kind of who I am. I always swing for the fences, and I always like the saying, try to land on the moon. If you miss, you land among the stars. So essentially, that's the way I look at it. I think big or go home. So essentially, if you're like that and really want to look at, make sure you subscribe, like it, everything, and thank you for watching. Thank you.